we can be preparing ourselves to receive servant of God today. That is Professor Margaret Mwenje, an associate professor of counseling psychology, specialized in addiction counseling and mental health. And we are glad to have you, Prof. We want to welcome you. Of course, being one of our own, married to one of our ministers in our residence, we are glad. And I want to officially now welcome you to start us off, Prof.
Okay. Good evening, people. It's so nice to meet you all, and I'm sorry for the few technical hitches that you're having. My name is Margaret Mwenje, and I'm actually saved. That's my number one thing in this life. And I'm an associate professor of counseling psychology. I teach at Pan Africa Christian University, and actually I'm a member of New Horizon district under the leadership of Elder Karanja Kivoi. His great leadership, we appreciate it. So we're going to talk about emotional wellness tonight, and that's a conversation that I want us to really think about, because we really need to normalize issues of mental health. Mental health, and I'm trying to share here. Yeah, mental health and emotional well-being, but you are going to concentrate on emotional well-being and what that entails. Okay, so first of all, mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her abilities. You know your abilities, and you know what you have, what you are capable of doing, your potential, and you can also be able to cope with the normal stressors of life, because usually we have some stressors in life. We are stressed out once in a while, but when your mental health is okay, you are actually able to cope with normal, with the stressors of life. You are also able to work productively and fruit-free. And you are also able to make a contribution, positive contribution in your community. And that is according to the World Health Organization definition of mental health. So mental health, it's very important for us to know that it impacts every area of our lives. And it actually affects how we feel, it affects how we act, and how we behave. So our behaviors basically are affected by our mental health. Because if our mental health is okay, we will feel good about ourselves. Our actions will be okay, and also the way we interact with other people. So let me say that mental health is everything. Sometimes we tend to take care of our physical health. We pay much attention on our physical health, but it's also important to pay attention to our mental health. Okay. And, I'm glad that we are having this conversation, because we need to normalize mental health conversations in all sectors, including our families. We need to talk about mental health, because these days we have some people who are struggling with stress, depression, burnout, and even suicide, and even trauma, and all these things are related to mental health. And that's why it's very important to normalize mental health conversations in churches. And I'm glad we are doing this in workplaces, in families, and in our society. Because it's an area that has been neglected, but I'm glad that even our government has recognized the importance of focusing on mental health. Because I think post-COVID, even during the COVID time, there are very many people who struggled with stress, depression, trauma, and all these things. And it's very important to pay close attention to mental health. So mental health determines our productivity, our effectiveness in all spheres of life. Actually, we can be more productive if we pay attention to our mental health. We can be effective in whatever it is that we do if we pay attention to our mental health. Okay. And we are going to talk about now the importance of mental health, of emotional well-being. because the conversation tonight is about emotional well-being. Why is it important? Emotional well-being is actually the ability. It's important, first of all, to understand what is emotional well-being. It is the ability to produce positive emotions, moods, thoughts, feelings, and also to adapt when we are confronted with adversity and stressful situations. Stressful situations will come. Sometimes we are confronted with some adversity. But when our emotional well-being is okay, we are actually able to adjust. We are able to adjust to the sail, and we can be able to to be flexible. And when we are flexible, then we will be okay. The wind will come. Sometimes the wind will be very strong. Sometimes some challenges will come, and some may be bigger, others smaller. Sometimes we may get into some smaller battles and bigger battles, but if our emotional well-being is okay, then we will be able to adjust to the sail, and we can survive it. We can survive the storm when we are strong enough emotionally. Okay. And why is it important to take care of our emotional well-being? First of all, it's very important because it helps us to establish stronger and healthy relationships. Relationships with ourselves and relationships with other people. When I talk about a stronger relationship with ourselves, this means that we love ourselves. We take care of ourselves. And I have this one principle in life, that if I don't take care of me, who will? And that's why it's very important to take care of ourselves. We need to love ourselves. We need to have that close relationship with ourselves, so that we can also be able to have a close relationship with other people. I'm a strong believer of you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't love yourself, you can't give love. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't be able to take care of other people. And that's why it's very, very important to focus on our emotional well-being, because when we do that, we will be able to have stronger relationships and healthy relationships with ourselves and also with other people. Okay. Emotional well-being is also very important because it helps us to cope with our daily stressors. It also helps us to have a positive sense of self. When we have a positive sense of self, we have a high self-esteem, high self-worth. We are able to actually embrace ourselves, just be proud of ourselves, and be strong-minded and refuse defeat. So it's very important to have to focus on emotional well-being, because it helps us to have that positive sense of self. We actually appreciate ourselves. And then we are also able to appreciate other people when we have our emotional well-being, okay, when it is okay. Okay. Something else, it helps us to stay motivated and physically active, because when your emotional well-being is not okay, then you may find it very hard to be physically active. You may find it very, very difficult to be, to stay motivated, because you'll be feeling drained. You'll be feeling like you are burning out. You'll be feeling fatigued and tired and bored, But when we have proper emotional well-being, when our emotions are okay, then we can stay motivated to do whatever it is that we are doing. We can actually be able to stay active physically, and also our health will be okay. Actually, research has established that when we have, when our mental health is okay, anytime we get sick, we can get healed very quickly. That means that our emotions are very, very important. Our emotional well-being is very important, because when it is okay, then even our physical body will be okay. And when we get sick, we are likely to get, to get okay very quickly. We can get healed very quickly, as opposed to somebody whose emotional well-being is not okay, as opposed to somebody who has some mental health challenges like trauma, depression, anxiety, and all that. So if somebody is struggling with anxiety and depression and stress, then even the body itself, it's affected. It affects our physical well-being as well. And that's why we need to not only focus on our physical body, but we also need to pay attention to our emotional well-being. Okay, we are also able to be productive at work. We are more productive at work. We are able to be up and running. We have more energy when we have emotional well-being. I want us to talk about something called emotional exhaustion, because this is the opposite of emotional well-being. When you don't have your emotions, okay, or when you don't have emotional well-being, then you will be struggling with emotional exhaustion. What is that? This is a state of feeling emotionally worn out. You feel worn out, you feel drained, you feel fatigued, you feel exhausted, and that's why we are calling it emotional exhaustion. But emotional exhaustion builds up slowly by slowly. You don't just suffer from emotional exhaustion, within one day, or it doesn't just show up. This is something that builds over time. But we can know it. You can actually know when you are getting emotionally exhausted. It is very possible to know. And I want us to compare this with with the oil gauge in our cars. When you are driving and you see the oil gauge, on E, what does that tell you? It tells you that you need to, to fill your tank. You need to add some petrol. And to me, that E stands, now psychologically, it stands for emotional exhaustion. So when you see your emotional gauge, going to E, you need to refill. Otherwise, you will get stuck at the middle of the highway of life. There's one time I was traveling to Nakuru campus of KU. And I got in there, I was sitting on the passenger seat at the front, and I could tell that the E gauge is actually, the oil gauge, it's at E, actually pointing at E. But I was thinking that the driver may refill the tank, at least somewhere in Westlands on Waiakui, but he didn't. He just continued. So I assumed maybe the oil gauge is kind of messed up. It is not maybe operating well. But he continued. When we got somewhere in Limuru, some places, in Kiambu, between Kiambu and I think Naivacha there, we just got stuck at the middle of the highway. And the driver got so frustrated. He was like, damn it, what is going on here? But I was like, what else did you expect? If you didn't have enough petrol, if the oil gauge was at, somewhere near close to E, then that was good enough. That was a signal, that was a red flag to tell you that you needed to refill. And this is the same thing that happens when we don't pay attention to our emotional gauge. We need to pay close attention. And we are going to talk about some red flags that we need to pay attention to, so that once you see some of these red flags, you do some refilling, so that you don't get stuck at the middle of the highway of life. Okay. I want us to talk about some symptoms of emotional exhaustion, or some red flags, some things that you can see in your life, and they can, and you get to know that, hey, it is time to refill. It is time to actually take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of you, who will? Okay, one of the symptoms that I want us to talk about is lack of motivation. When you start feeling like you don't have the motivation to do anything, you feel like you are literally pulling yourself out of bed in the morning. You have no motivation to do your job, or even to do some chores in the house. You are just there, no motivation at all. That is a red flag. You need to pay attention to that. Something else is chronic boredom. And when I talk about boredom, I'm not talking about like feeling bored right now, maybe for 1 minute, maybe for one day. This is something that continues day in, day out, maybe today, tomorrow, this week, next week. It is chronic boredom. This is a red flag that you are likely to be emotionally exhausted. And you need to do something, you need to pay attention and do some refilling, so that you don't get stuck at the middle of the highway. Because when you get stuck, you'll be a danger to yourself and a danger to the people around you, because you are likely to be very angry. You are likely to be just not very friendly. You are likely to be easily agitated, and the people around you may not be very happy with you because of the emotions. Now, something else is fatigue. You just feel you don't have any energy, low energy, physical fatigue, some headaches, and these are headaches that we call stress headache. You can have some stress headache. And when you start having this one, it's like, hey, you need to pay attention. You need to give yourself a break. You need to pay attention to your emotions. You need to refill. And this is where some people will start having some stress-related illnesses, like maybe stomachache. And when you talk about stomachache, it is the ache or the pain that you have on the upper part of the stomach. And that can actually progress and become stomach ulcers. I have my little theory that says it's not about, ulcers is not about what you eat. It is about what is eating you. Let me repeat that. Ulcers is not about what you eat. It is about what is eating you. This means that you need to really think about the underlying issues that are actually causing the pain in the stomach. If you go to the hospital, and I'm not against going to the hospital, it's okay to take antacid medication. If you go to the hospital, the doctor may tell you to take some antacid medication. You may also be advised to avoid some kind of food, maybe avoid juices, avoid maybe anything spicy and all that stuff. But if you come to me for counseling, I will ask you, when did you start suffering from ulcers or from this pain? Then you tell me maybe last year. Then I'll ask you towards the beginning of the year or towards the end of the year. Then if you tell me towards the end of the year, I'll go further and ask you, tell me what was going on in your life towards the end of last year. Then maybe you'll say, I lost a loved one, or maybe I lost a job, or the business was not doing too good. If you mention that maybe you lost a loved one, then I will ask you, how are you feeling about it now? And what I'll be up to, I'll be trying to see whether you have unresolved grief, or maybe what we call a complicated grief. Because when we lose loved ones, we are supposed to go through grief, but not get stuck in grief. In the beginning, when we get the news, we kind of get in a shock. We are kind of in a shock. And this is where you hear somebody say, I'm not even thinking, I'm just numb. And that is a normal reaction when we get those kind of news. And then after that, somebody may start saying, oh no, that is denial. Until when somebody sees maybe the funeral procession or the casket, or when you go through the final funeral issues and all that stuff, that's when maybe the denial is broken. Then somebody may get angry. The next stage is anger. Some people are angry at themselves because they are blaming themselves for what happened. It can be angry at the doctors, angry maybe at a family member who they think maybe didn't take care of the deceased. Some other people are angry at God. And I've had so many clients say, I stopped praying. I'm so mad at God because why did he allow this to happen? So that anger can be directed to anything. And we try to sort it out through counseling. And then somebody can get into depression, not clinical depression though, but it is still, some depression, the intense sadness. And that is also supposed to be taken care of, because if it's not taken care of, it can progress to clinical depression. So in other words, I'm trying to say that I will be able to establish that what is causing the ulcers is unresolved grief. So I'll try to sort it out. And trust me, the ulcers might start disappearing and stuff, okay? So when you start having the stress headaches and stomach ulcers and stuff, you need to pay attention to that, because that is a sign, or those are signs of emotional exhaustion. Then maybe aches and pains and tense muscles. And when we talk about, aches and muscles and stuff, like at the back of the neck, the backache and all that, some of that pain is actually related to stress and emotional exhaustion. Something else is chest pain and rapid heartbeat. Insomnia is lack of sleep, or hyposomnia. Hyposomnia is when somebody is oversleeping. but insomnia is a lack of sleep. So these are red flags that we need to pay attention to. Then there is also change of appetite. You just feel like you don't have any appetite, and this is something that is actually continuous. It's also a red flag. Something else is difficult concentrating. You know, you start doing one thing, and before you finish it, you are in everywhere. You are doing something else. It's like you are doing bits and pieces of everything, and then that adds to frustrations. You get frustrated. You are angry at yourself because you are not finishing anything that you're doing, and that is also a red flag. Feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, and also anger and irritability. There are some people who will actually show signs of emotional exhaustion, and they will actually show up in form of anger. You are angry at people, at yourself. You just have this anger that, you know, that is not going away, and you're not sorting it out. And I think that is why even the Bible says that we should not let the sun go down. You know, when we are angry, we need to sort it out, because this can cause, you know, stress, emotional exhaustion, and all that. And also irritability. Somebody who is emotionally exhausted, if you try to get close to this person, they might be so irritable. They may just project some of the frustrations and there's some anger they may be having. And you are like, goodness gracious, what have I done? I usually tell people, don't take it personally. Maybe it is not about you, it's about what this person is going through. Another red flag is feeling drained. You just feel exhausted. You just feeling drained. It's like you are burning out. Okay. Now, there are some job-related symptoms. And I know there are some people here who are supervisors. Maybe you are an employer, CEO somewhere. It's very important to know that there are some job-related symptoms of emotional exhaustion. And when you start seeing this among your employees, you need to actually just help them get some time to refill, because they will not be productive. One of the symptoms is failure to meet deadlines, more absences and poor attitude, high employee turnout, low productivity, and low commitment to the organization. When you have employees who are showing all these signs, then you can be sure that there is not going to be productivity in that organization. And that is why many organizations have gone to an extent of, putting up some intervention programs, employee assistance programs, putting psychosocial programs in place so that the employees can actually benefit from those kind of programs. They can be helped to sort out some of the issues that may be causing some maladaptive behaviors, or that may be causing emotional exhaustion. Okay. And also having some psychoeducation, seminars or workshops on stress management, anger management, mental health. I think that is very, very important so that your employees can be productive, because if they are productive, you will be happy. Now, what causes emotional exhaustion? It's very important to know the reason, the underlying problems that are causing emotional exhaustion. And actually, for all of us, if we don't know what is causing emotional exhaustion in our lives, we will not be able to pay attention to it. We will not be able to change it, because in psychology, we believe you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And that's why it's very important to know some of the causes of emotional exhaustion. What can make us really get exhausted to a point of getting stuck, to a point of getting a burnout, or maybe getting to depression and stuff. One is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, in other words, we call it inner dialogue. Like, what do you tell yourself? And in this case, I usually tell people, what people say about you may not be very, very important as opposed to what you tell yourself in here. That is your self-talk, your inner dialogue. When you look at the mirror, what do you think about that person who is looking back at you? Are you positive about that person? Do you like that person? What is it that you love about that person who is looking at you? In other words, it's about loving yourself, appreciating yourself for who you are, acknowledging your own uniqueness, and being okay with yourself. There are some people who are so negative about themselves. You ask them anything, it's like, oh, well, I'm just making it in life. I'm just trying. Nothing is working. Nothing is working for me. And this can actually be coming from some negative labels that you are given when you are growing up. Sometimes when children are growing up, especially during the formative years, there are two key people who are very, very important, and whatever they say, whatever they do, influences these children during the formative years. And we call them negative labels. And this is a teacher and a parent. If maybe somebody hears, just negative talk, you are not never make it in life, you are the black sheep in the family, and you are good for nothing. And some of us had those labels from our teachers during the formative years, especially in lower primary. And whatever the teacher says, it's like we take it as the gospel truth. Maybe some of you who have young grandchildren or even young children, if you try to show a child maybe some kind of formula that you may think it is easier, the child will tell you, teacher said. And then when somebody else tries to tell them something, they'll be like, mama said or daddy said. So whatever we say, whether it is a negative label or a positive label, it is taken as a gospel truth. These are negative labels that are given to people. But what happens is like people internalize them. When they internalize them, and maybe somebody said, you'll never make it in life. When they start not making it, they'll be like, after all, my mama said, after all, my teacher said, I'll never amount up to anything. So it becomes what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's why we encourage people to just not pay attention, not pay close attention to what the negative stuff that people say. I like what Eleanor Roosevelt said, that nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Let me repeat that. Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Unfortunately, many of us give people consent to dictate how we feel about ourselves. We need to guard that, because that negative self-talk that is coming from everything that we have heard from people, and we believe it and we pay close attention to what everybody is saying, it can actually lead to emotional exhaustion. Something else that can lead to emotional exhaustion is life transitions. We are always transitioning. Maybe somebody gets married, maybe somebody gets children, maybe somebody who has been working, you retire. That is a life transition. And if maybe there is no proper psychological preparation, somebody can be affected by those life transitions, and they might start getting stressed out, they start getting a burnout, and they also start getting emotionally exhausted. And that's why it's very important to have that, to just prepare, just prepare. If it's about retirement, have that psychological preparedness. And I know there are many organizations that are preparing their employees so that they don't just get out there and start struggling with their mental health. Something else is financial stress. It can lead to emotional exhaustion. Then unresolved anger and conflict. Unresolved anger and conflict, that can also cause emotional exhaustion. And that's why we need to resolve conflicts. We need to resolve anger so that we don't hold it. I know there are some people who are usually very angry, and you can't even tell what they're angry at. They are like a sitting time bomb. You just need to push a small button and they just blow up. That can lead to emotional exhaustion. Then death of a loved one can also lead to emotional exhaustion. Something else is the jobs that we do. High pressure jobs that have strong demands, like nurses, doctors, police officers, teachers, caregivers, all these professions and many others, they can be emotionally draining. We call them we call them helping professions. These helping professions, we help people, we give our best, we give our all. And sometimes, like even counseling, you are dealing with people who are struggling, who are hurting emotionally. Doctors and nurses, especially during the time of COVID, they had so many people, so many patients, walking in and out and stuff. And this can be draining. And this is the reason why we tell caregivers to take care of themselves. Sometimes you may wonder, who takes care of the caregiver? Who takes care of the counselor? Who takes care of the doctors and the nurses? Because they're also human beings. If it's like the police officers, they are out there when there's an accident. We call the police officers when people are fighting, when there's a mess going on, we call them. When maybe people have been involved in accidents and there are some who have been hurt and maybe some have died, it's like we call the police. And who takes care of them? But I thank God that at least these days, the police officers are also paying attention to mental health. They have mental health professionals who are taking care of them. Teachers, caregivers, it's very important to prioritize our self-care so that we can be strong enough to help other people, because I'm a strong believer of you can't give what you don't have. So we need to take care of ourselves. All right? Now, I want to give some few suggestions that we can use in order to refill, in order for us to be emotionally stable, in order for our mental health to be intact. One is finding a support system. Finding a support system means looking for somebody to talk to, somebody that you can open up to. You can be able to express your emotions. You can be able to talk about your feelings. You can be able to share how your struggles and all that. And this can be a trusted friend. This can be a counselor, at least that support group. When you share your issues with somebody or with some people who are going through the same kind of a situation, it helps a lot. It psychologically, emotionally, you feel, wow, I'm not alone. At the same time, sharing your emotions or talking about your experiences and your feelings, it is very important, because when you bottle up these emotions, or in other words, when you do what I call packing them in a little briefcase in quotes, this briefcase becomes heavy. And then you come across a situation, you are very angry, or you have some, you're not feeling too good and stuff, but you don't want to talk about it, you're angry, and then you keep packing that briefcase. How long can that briefcase be dragged along? As time goes on, it becomes heavy and heavy and heavier. And then you get stuck. You get emotionally exhausted. You are worn out. You cannot carry on anymore. That's why it's very important to vent out. It's very important to talk. And let me say, research has established that we are losing very many of our African men. And I'm saying this because I know you have some men here. Because the way the boy child is socialized, boys have been made to believe that it's not good to show emotions. That is a sign of weakness. It's not good to to shed tears. It's good to be strong. Kukaa ngumu. Just stay strong. You should not show emotions. You are a man. So they hold so many, a lot of emotions. They bottle up so many emotions. They pack all these feelings and emotions and all that stuff. And they are likely to get stuck. And that's the reason why majority of the people who are really stuck with mental health and depression are actually men. Sorry to say that. So that's why it's very important to find a support system. And I usually say, even if you don't talk, look for a way of venting out. You can do journaling. You can just write down your emotions and stuff. Talk to a trusted friend, or even talk to a counselor, because there is confidentiality and stuff. Because for women, when we get upset, we cry, we talk, we share. And I think that is the reason why we don't have very many women, committing suicide and also engaging in, some depression-related behaviors. Something else that we need to do is to change our attitude. There's something else that we can do in order to, to improve our mental health, or to improve our emotional well-being. Changing our attitude. That is fighting for other ways to think about stressful situations. Actually, somebody said that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. Let me repeat that. Life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% on how we react to it. So maybe you may be going through a situation that is quite difficult, or a painful situation, but then you tell yourself, you know what? I can make it. I can do it. Other people have gone through what I'm going through, and they have made it, and I can make it too. You encourage yourself, and you have this positive attitude. So you still survive it. You still be able to get, to go through that storm and still stand strong. Why? Because of your perception, because of your attitude. And as believers, I usually say, instead of focusing so much on the mountain, because mountains will pop up in life, instead of focusing so much on the mountains of life, let's focus on the mountain mover, the one who can move the mountains. Instead of getting overwhelmed, focusing on the valleys, focus on the lily of the valley. That is our Lord Jesus Christ. If it's about maybe the storms of life, focus on He who can calm the storm. There is spirituality in mental health. And this can work very well. So changing our attitude, cultivating a positive attitude. We usually say in counseling that a positive attitude invites positive results, and a negative attitude invites negative results. So it's very important to change this attitude and just, think positively so that we can avoid getting emotionally exhausted and drained and burning out. The next thing that we can do is to be realistic. Just being realistic. And this means setting practical goals for dealing with the situations and solving problems. Sometimes we bite more than we can chew. And realistically, we bite more than we can chew. We have some very beautiful goals, very, very nice goals, but we want to achieve or to accomplish all these goals within a very short time. It's very important to break down our goals so that we can have, short-term goals. And as we work on these short-term goals and we are able to accomplish them, then we are able to say, wow, I've at least made it. I've accomplished this one. So you are motivated to continue. But if you set unrealistic goals, it's like you are biting more than you can chew. It's good to break down your life goals. You cannot be able to be everywhere and be everything to everybody. It's very important to know we are human beings. Excuse me. We are human beings and we can only do this much. So let's be realistic. Let us set practical goals when we are dealing with, with situations in life. We may want to do a lot of stuff, but let us set priorities. First things first. There are some things that can wait, and there are some things that can be, more urgent. That is why it's very important to, just set practical goals when we are dealing with situations and solving problems. Let's avoid biting more than you can chew. That's what I can say for that one. Number 4, get organized and take charge. Being disorganized or engaging in poor planning, it actually leads to frustrations and crisis, which leads to feeling stressed out. It makes us feel stressed out and disappointed and agitated. And that's why it's very important to actually avoid disorganization. Planning is very important. Plan your time, make a schedule, establish priorities. And this can actually help us to reduce stress and also to, help us, maintain our emotional well-being. Because it is very frustrating when we don't accomplish what we want to do. It is very frustrating. And also we get in some kind of a crisis when we are disorganized. But getting organized, setting priorities, setting some schedule, making some schedule, it's very, very important. It can help us have a smooth sail. Something else is taking a break. We need to take a break. We need to, and taking a break does not mean that you have to go to Mombasa, you have to take a retreat to go to Naivasha or Dubai or wherever. You don't have to. It's about identifying a healing environment for you. A healing environment is what we call a safe haven. It's a therapeutic environment. When you get stressed out, what do you do? Where do you run to? Where is your healing environment? Actually, I would encourage each one of us to identify a healing environment for yourself. Is it just taking a walk? Maybe in Karura Forest? Is it maybe just planting some few crops in your yard? or maybe some trees or some flowers, attending to them or just watering them. That is called ecotherapy. Ecotherapy is healing by nature. Just walking around, in the nature, just taking care of trees and flowers and kitchen garden, and or even just driving somewhere, where you can just enjoy the nature and the beauty of nature. Take a break. This one, I call it the me time. Make sure that at least you have your me time. You can even retreat in your own house. Some people even take a nap. It is okay. It is part of self-care. We need to take care of ourselves. It may just mean just listening to some music, maybe just reading an exciting novel, or just visiting with a friend and just sitting and chatting and just laughing. Take a break. Give yourself your me time. In fact, I would encourage each one of us tonight, just make sure that at least every day you have your me time. At least take some short breaks during your very, very busy day. That will help you to refill. That is one of the ways that you can be able to refill so that you don't become emotionally exhausted. Okay? Next, take care of yourself. This is about self-care. Eat properly. Get regular rest. Keep a routine. Because if you don't keep a routine, you might feel disorganized. Allow yourself to do something that you enjoy every day. You can actually get together with friends or with family members or even by yourself. Some people who are introverts, they regain their energy, they get a refill when they just retreat by themselves. It is still okay. Because when you go to a crowded place, you might feel you are getting drained. You are kind of getting emotionally exhausted. So you can still retreat and take care of yourself. It is not being selfish. It's about self-care. Then people who are extroverts, they regain their energy when they are out there interacting and meeting new people and all that. So if you are that kind of a person, then just do it. It's about understanding ourselves and knowing what really stresses us out. It's about listening to our emotional gauge. It's about paying attention to that emotional gauge so that we can know when we are actually warming up and about to burn out. It's about paying attention to that oil gauge so that you can know when you are getting emotionally exhausted so that you can refill. Refill is very important. It's self-care. Something else is learning how to say no. It's about being assertive. There are some people, and maybe this kind of people who will not say no to anything. It's like there's something that needs to be done, I'll do it. We need somebody to go and learn some errands, I'll do it. We need somebody to go and put these things together, I'll do it. It's like you want to please everybody. There is actually something that I usually tell clients. Sometimes you can try to please everybody, but you end up pleasing nobody, including yourself. Let me repeat that. Sometimes you can try to please everybody, but you end up pleasing nobody, including yourself. So protect yourself by not allowing yourself to take on every request, every opportunity that comes your way. We are human beings. Let us understand ourselves and let us learn to say no. Let us be assertive and just do what we have to do. Avoid biting more than you can chew so that you don't burn out. Okay. I want to finish quickly. Next is getting, getting regular exercise. Exercising is very important. Exercising regularly can help to relieve some symptoms of depression, anxiety, stress, and emotional exhaustion. It's very, very important to actually exercise. And even if you don't have time to go to the gym, just do what you have to do, maybe just in your own home, just in your own compound, maybe just even walking around. It is still good enough. When we are physically strong, even emotionally, we will be okay. Very, very important. In fact, exercising regularly helps to relieve some symptoms of depression, stress, anxiety, and also emotional exhaustion. So let us exercise. Something else is slowing down. Slow down. Know your limits and cut down on a number of things that you try to do each day. Particularly if you don't have enough time for yourself, or if you don't have enough time to take care of yourself, please try to slow down. Because if you don't, your body will pull you down. Your body will slow you down. And your body will, you will actually get to know that, hey, it is time for me to slow down. Be realistic about what you can accomplish effectively each day. It's better to do some quality work. You reduce some activities and do some quality work instead of doing a lot, having your hands full and overflowing, and then you end up not being very effective. Monitor your pace. Rushing through things can actually lead to making mistakes and poor performance, and then we get frustrated and emotionally exhausted. So take time to do a good job. Take time to do a good job. Poorly done tasks can actually lead to added stress. And that's why it's very important to not push ourselves to do things and do so many things. It's like, we are human beings, people. We are human beings. So just try to listen to your body. Listen to your body and do what you can be able to do and leave the rest for the following day. Then the next one is laughing and just using humor. Do something fun, something enjoyable. Maybe just looking, just watching a funny movie, or just laughing with friends. By the way, somebody said that when you laugh, it's, you get more of, I don't know whether it is vitamin A or what, but it's like there's a way that you relax your body. There are some hormones that are produced, when you laugh, and these hormones helps to relax the body. And it is difficult to actually get stressed out when you are actually laughing. There's no way that you can be sad at the same time you are laughing. So just something funny, just laughing with the friends, just by the way, even the Bible says that laughter is the medicine to the soul, I think, somewhere. Or just watching comedy, something. It is healing. It can help to ease emotional exhaustion. Then relaxing, meditating, just having a quiet time, it can be very, very helpful. Next, it is also very important to seek professional help. Professional help is usually very important. Talk to somebody, talk to a counselor. And one thing I did appreciate about, so-called Presbyterian Church is that you have actually recognized the importance of counseling. It's very important just to talk to somebody, about some struggles and stuff, and it's going to be done professionally. So I think it's a good thing. Next, take care of yourself, eat healthy, engage in positive self-talk, learn to appreciate yourself, learn to pat your own back. It's very, very important. There is one thing that I say in life. Even if I don't have anybody appreciating me, I've learned to appreciate myself. Even if you don't have people patting your back and telling you that you have done a good job, by the way, learn to pat your own back. In fact, even tonight, after I finish this talk, even if nobody tells me, Margaret, you have done a good job, I've learned to tell myself, Margaret, you have done a good job. Learn to appreciate yourself, love yourself, pat your own back. Even when you work so hard and you feel unappreciated, appreciate yourself for the sake of your emotional well-being. Something else, learn new skills. Learn new skills. When you learn some new skills, maybe it's just bakery or just a new skill, just something, learning something new. It helps us to have, it helps to build self-confidence. It helps us to have a new sense of purpose. It's very, very good. Developing new skills actually can also help us to manage stress, manage anger. You can just try to learn some anger management skills, anxiety management, anger management skills. Very, very important. Some coping skills in life. Because there are some situations that you come across. We may not be able to change those situations. We may not be able to change them, but we can just adapt some coping skills so that we can be able to carry on with life, regardless of what is happening. It's also very important to live a balanced lifestyle. Living a balanced lifestyle means that you are paying attention to the 5 dimensions of life. These dimensions are spiritual, physical, emotional, intellectual, and social. If you pay attention to just spirituality, spirituality is very important. But if you only pay attention to spirituality and you neglect your emotions, then there will be some imbalance. And you are likely to get emotionally exhausted. So you need to pay attention to spiritual, physical, emotional, intellectual, and social. You can take care of the first four, spiritual, physical, emotional, and intellectual, and you neglect the social. You need to figure out a way of connecting with people as well, so that you can have a balanced lifestyle. That balance is very, very important for our mental health. Very, very important. And sometimes for those of us who are very, very busy, it's very important to just spare some time so that we can be able to pay attention to all these dimensions of life. Otherwise, if we do all these things that we have talked about, we will be able to be emotionally stable. We are not burn out. We are not get exhausted along the way, and you're not get stuck at the middle of the highway of life. So what is the solution, people? Keep checking your oil gauge, your emotional gauge. Keep your eye on your emotional gauge, so that when you start feeling emotionally exhausted, you refill. And we have talked about the little things that you need to do in order to refill, so that we can stay strong and we can be okay. Otherwise, I think I'm done. God bless you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. We are glad for the great lesson of checking our e-gauge. Such a great thing. We are thankful. Let us pray. Dear God, our loving Father, we thank you so much for Professor Margaret and the great inspiration. We thank you, Lord, for the great teaching and lessons that we have received. We ask that God, you help us even as we walk this journey of emotional wellness. May your name be honored, O Lord. For this we pray in Jesus' name. We can all say the grace together. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love
and the love of God
The fellowship
and the
of
fellowship of the
the
Spirit
Spirit
be with us
be with us now
forevermore.
forevermore. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.